Welcome to Snetterton for the final 3 rounds of the Radical Challenge Championship for 2016. Our champion may have been decided with Steve Burgess, but there's still a cracking fight going on for second place between Jack Lang and Joe Stables here this weekend. So it'll be Jack Lang who starts the first of our races from pole position. He was over a second quicker in qualifying. The man who starts alongside on that front row is going to be John McLeod. Steve Burgess, the man who comes to Snetterton as a championship leader, qualified third. And it's going to be Brian Caldwell who starts alongside the 2 red cars there on row number 2. And then Brian Murphy and Tony Wells line up on row number 3. Final few cars into place towards the back. The last of those is going to be Peter Tyler in car number 80, the blackened fluorescent yellow car you can see there, which means the 5-second board is now held aloft and 20 minutes of radical racing to get underway. Once the red lights go out, they're now on, and who can make the best of the starts in this race as we get underway. Jack Lang not too bad, but there was a better start from John McLeod alongside, and then from row 2 a good start from Steve Burgess and a cracking start from Brian Caldwell, who goes right round the outside at Richie's corner from row number 2. He gets himself into the lead of the race, so a great start there from number 66. He finds himself in the lead through Ritchie's. Oh, there's a bit of drama on the start line there. One of those involved is number 52, which is the car of Mark Richards from 7th on the grid. So he has damage and looks like he's going to go no further, unfortunately. And there was someone else involved as well, which could have possibly been that car there of Elliot Goodman, but they're still recovering. And with a lot of smoke coming from Ritchie's corner as well, I think we're going to have a few non-finishers from this race. But it is Brian Caldwell that leads the race then in that red machine. Second place is number 14, John McLeod from the front row. You got there in third place Steve Burgess in car number 2, and Jack Lang number 7 in the orange machine. Former Formula 4 racer sits there on the back of the top 3, and then the line starts to build just behind as well. The likes of Tony Wells I think has made a good start, and Paul Allen up there as well inside the top few places. Down towards the right-hander at Oggies, the leaders have gone as they work their way very quickly through Williams and on towards the back straight for the first time. And you can see in the background there as well the yellow flashing lights, which indicate there is a safety car very shortly to be deployed onto the circuit, and there is the safety car waiting to pick up the leaders. Well, there's been a problem there as well for John Caldwell by the looks of it. Car number 10 rejoins the fray with, by the looks of it, not too much damage, just had a slight excursion off the track. So you can now see the drivers just weaving around the circuit just to make sure they keep the warmth within the tyres before we go back to green flag racing. I think it's probably the car of number 52, Mark Richards, we need to get cleared off the main start-finish line. So the leader's now being picked up by the safety car, with Brian Caldwell, John McLeod and Steve Burgess as your top 3. So a slight delay for the clear-up to be done for the Radicals around the circuit. As ever, the hard-working Snetterton marshals put to work pretty early on, but they've now done a tremendous job, which means we can go back to green flag racing here at Snetterton. Very, very close between the top 4 and 5. It's going to be a great restart here because number 14, John McLeod, is going to be right glued to the back of Brian Caldwell as they get the green flag, and there's a few guys just a little bit further back there trying to get alongside, which you're not allowed to do until you cross the start-finish line, which they now do. Green flag waves once more, and Brian Caldwell under attack here from John McLeod. In towards Ritchie's corner they go on the first of these flying laps after the safety car. Slightly wide there from, by the looks of it, the number 3 machine, which is Tony Wells. He's trying to keep behind him number 95, which is Joe Stables. He's had a cracking start within this race. And also you can see in there as well, number 57, Brian Murphy, who's dropped down from where he started. There going through is Elliot Goodman. But it's a top 4 we need to keep a keen eye on here. The Jack Manchester, the white number 15 car, going through the shop. He's made some good progress as well from row number 5, and now looking to make a move on the inside line there on Brian Murphy by the looks of it. Down in towards Agostini they go. Can he get 2 places in one? A big lock up from Jack. He just about gets the car stopped, and through he goes on the number 50 machine, 57 machine, sorry, Brian Murphy. So up the order he now moves. Next in line there for Jack Manchester is going to be the number 15 car, which he is going to try and catch before too much longer. And then Joe Stables will be the next in line as well. But the leaders all together, top 4, making a nice long train in this Radical Challenge Championship, the first race of the weekend. There's another close battle between 2 of the red cars. Number 5, you can see first off, is Paul Allen for this race, being chased there by number 11, Aaron Bailey, who's been around with brother Lee in Radicals for a couple of years now. Every time they go out, starting to improve and find themselves higher up the order. leaders turn their way through the bomb hole. There's the fight for third place at the minute, which is between the two championship protagonists, Steve Burgess and Jack Lang. Getting very, very close down towards Murray's are the leaders as well. So Brian Caldwell comes through. Very nice tight line taken there. Slight mishap for number 14, John McLeod, the man who's chasing for now as they work their way to the line once more. The gap sits at just over half a second on this occasion. There's Steve Burgess in third. Jack Lang looking for an inside line in towards Richie's corner. Steve almost left the door open there. Jack had to take a lot of curb on the entrance to the corner, but that may have just helped him up towards the right-hander at Wilson. Let's have a look and see how they appear. Well, in fact, Jack Lang's lost places there because Steve Burgess has pulled away. Looks like Tony Wells has come on now to the tail of our fourth place man. So that is a fight for fourth. There's the fight for second. And then behind that is Joe Stables, Jack Manchester, and number 57 you saw as well, Brian Murphy, who all find themselves inside the top 8 places. Top 5 just starting to break away now. They're leaving Joe Stables behind, who then leads another 5-way train of radicals in this 20-minute race. The Radical SR3 RSX, which is the brand new car, which everyone is getting to grips with very nicely indeed, and they are a very impressive bit of kit as well. Down towards Oggies goes Brian Caldwell. Still leads John McLeod by a very small margin. Those two now just breaking away from number 2, Steve Burgess, and Jack Lang, who's kind of refocused himself, regrouped and caught back up onto the tail of our third place man. And Tony Wells now just slipping back into the clutches of Joe Stables, who in turn has pulled away from number 15, Jack Manchester. Down through Brundle and Nelson then come our leaders once more. This is the closest couple of fights we see on the track for the time being. And of course this is all for the championship, so it's Jack Lang who, very importantly, needs to find himself ahead of Steve Burgess, not just by one place, but realistically needs to be winning the race as well. So let's see if Jack can do anything about Steve Burgess first off, and then once he gets past, if he does, can he do anything about the top 2? John McLeod in second, and of course the man who leads the race, Brian Caldwell, after that cracking start round the outside at Richie's corner. Top 2 work the way through Richie's once more. Jack Lang, he's very, very quick in towards Richie's, but he just can't quite find the room to get through there. But if he can get a good run through the final corner at Murray's, and again he's under attack from Tony Wells as they find themselves heading through Wilson. Tony Wells seems to be good on that part of the circuit, whereas Jack Lang finds himself very good at the first corner, but in doing so he then puts himself back into the clutches of Tony Wells and loses a huge amount of ground to Steve Burgess, who still sits there in second place. The leaders as close as ever once more then. John McLeod onto the tail of Brian Caldwell in car number 66. Down towards Hamilton they go, and you can just see there a slight wet line off the racing line, so if any of those racers seem to dip off and try and make a move, it could in fact catch you out there. It's been a bit of a wet weekend, some heavy rain earlier on, but now starting to dry up. John McLeod sits there then, just dropping back again from our race leader Brian Caldwell. There is Andy Chittington, a man who normally races within the Radical SR1 Cup, but decided to do the Radical Challenge Championship as well this weekend with David Franklin. They are side by side. Again, wherever you look in the Radical racing, there is a battle to feast your eyes on. One there between the SR1 and the SR3. Back to the leaders we go then. Still Brian Caldwell with a slightly increased margin now over John McLeod, just growing to over a second. Steve Burgess sits there in third. Fourth place still for Jack Lang in car number 7. And again, those 4 cars have just broke away from Tony Wells in 5th place, who sits there still in a good position. Will pick up some solid points to help him in the championship. Looks like Tony will finish with inside the top 10 this year if everything goes his way this weekend. Brian Caldwell just peering over the Armco barriers there. There's Joe Stables and Jack Manchester. A little bit of damage on the left front there for Jack, which means he's probably had contact with someone or something within this race, but he still finds himself in a relatively good top 10 position. He's looking for a move, in fact, on Joe Stables for this occasion. Down the inside line, he tries to go once more, but he'll put him on the outside run down towards Palmer, so Joe Stables finds himself still ahead. We've got Brian Murphy in the mix as well in car number 57, and the other two now that have caught up are number 5, which is Paul Allen for this race. Oh, and there's a rabbit across the track there, just avoids the race leaders. Gets out of harm's way, and here comes a move from number 57 Brian Murphy, looking down the inside line of Jack Manchester, but again nothing really happening there. The rabbit has escaped harms, which is good, but that is another 5-way fight, so you've pretty much got 5 at the front. You've got 5 from 6th on backwards. So 2 cracking fights to keep an eye on. There goes Joe Stables with Jack Manchester still behind him. He tried on 1 occasion so far this lap. Can he try again down towards Brundle and Nelson? We'll have to wait and see as those 5 are about to appear under the bridge. There go the leaders. Jack Lang again looking briefly to get up into 3rd place on Steve Burgess, but on this occasion he can't find his way through, so he sits there still in 4th place. Not really worried about Tony Wells behind him, because again he's about a second or so adrift at the minute, so he's not going to come into play just yet, unless there's another mistake from Jack on this next lap at the first corner, which I'm sure he'll try and attack our 3rd place man Steve Burgess. So this is a fight for 6th, still headed by Joe Stables in that black machine. Jack Manchester gets pretty close on the brakes down towards Murray's, but there's a mistake behind there from Brian Murphy, who just ran too deep into the corner. In fact, has lost a little bit of ground by the looks of it. Here's the fight for 3rd once again, though. Jack Lang trying to go round the outside at Ritchie's. He's going to try a different approach on this occasion. He's going to try and stick it there, as well as Steve Burgess will try and hang him as wide as possible. Slight lock-up from our leader. Oh, and there's been contact between 3rd and 4th. Steve Burgess has lost his front bonnet by the looks of it, so Steve has made contact, and if you put 2 and 2 together, there's smoke emulating from the back of Jack Lang, which means I reckon they've had contact on the run from Ritchie's down towards Wilson, and now Steve Burgess is under attack from the ever closer Tony Wells, who gets a nice move done down the inside of Agostini, and that is just the bodywork you can see in front of Jack Lang, which is now rubbing on the tyre, so hopefully there's not too much damage done there. And Jack Lang will be hoping there's not too much time left within this race as well, because he'll want to get that car to the checker flag in this position and finish ahead of his championship rival Steve Burgess. So for now, a little bit of smoke coming from the back of Jack, who's now up into 3rd place. Tony Wells finds himself in 4th, and Steve Burgess, with the slightly more lightweight Radical now, sits there in 5th position as they work their way off the Bentley Straight and down towards Brundle and Nelson. Just wondering if he's going to come under attack from this next train of cars here. Joe Stables, Jack Manchester, and now by the looks of it, number 11, Aaron Bailey, up into 8th place. There's Brian Murphy, who's dropped down a position for now. And then right on the tail of those, you can see the car of number 5, Paul Allen, as well. That's how the top 10 round themselves out. Down towards Murray's comes this fight for 6th place. Not a bad line there taken by Jack Manchester. He gets a good run. Meantime, back to the leaders. Still with Brian Caldwell out front from 4th on the grid. 2nd for number 14, John McLeod in that white and black machine. And then a distant 3rd place now is Jack Lang. But of course, if he finishes ahead of Steve Burgess, that is good news, because it will give him a few more points in the championship to try and close that gap before the weekend, as the 2 leaders then peer their way through Palmer. Still the smoke coming from the back of Jack Lang, and to be fair, he's now being caught by the number 3 machine of Tony Wells here, so I don't think this one's set in stone just yet. Tony Wells still with the possibility of getting himself onto the podium as the leaders turn their way out of Agostini. There's 3rd and 4th Jack Lang and Tony Wells, and now a distant 5th place is the car of Steve Burgess. Don't think he's got anything left in the tank, unfortunately, so he's going to limp that car to the checker flag. Brian Caldwell just gradually now starting to open up the lead over number 14 there, John McLeod. So he'll give himself a little bit of breathing room. And that is a little bit worrying to see smoke there, but it's not from our leader, by the way. It's just from still the Jack Lang car. So Brian Caldwell is fine. John McLeod there in 2nd. Jack Lang and 4th place Tony Wells. And yeah, correct. Look at this. Number 2 of Steve Burgess in 5th place is now being caught by that next train. So Joe Stables, Jack Manchester can have an attack before the race comes to an end. I think they should have enough time to get past. Steve Burgess now starting to just fall away off the pace. And of course, with no front bonnet, it is apparent that he's starting to struggle now. So let's see if Joe Stables and Jack Manchester can get through. There goes our 2nd place man, John McLeod, up towards the line. Not really being chased by Jack Lang at the minute. He's, again, just dropped back in 3rd position now. So the top 2 look comfortable. Caldwell and McLeod have been there since the start of the race, of course. We had that early safety car as well, which just halted proceedings to get the car of Mark Richards cleared away. So There goes John McLeod down towards Palmer. He's still only about half a second back at the minute, so the gap has stayed around about the same for the best part of 4 or 5 laps. And there has been the change made then. Steve Burgess finally being passed by just one car for now. That is Joe Stables, who's gone through. But here comes number 11, which is Aaron Bailey. He's going to look for a move as well down towards Agostini. There's no defence from Steve Burgess. And in fact, Aaron Bailey gets 2 places in one corner there. So he's not content with the 1. He takes the 2. And Joe Stables drops down now into what's going to be 7th position. Steve Burgess down to 8th. Jack Manchester has also lost positions on that previous lap as well. And a big lock up in towards the right-hander. That came from Joe Stables by the looks of it. But Aaron Bailey now on his way in 6th position. He pushes on. And we'll see if he can make any further progress within this race. Jack Manchester now looking to get a move done on Steve Burgess as well. Does he get anything done at Nelson? He's not really on the right line there. He's going to try and force him wide though down towards the bomb hole as they turn their way through. You've got Brian Murphy still within the mix and also Paul Allen in car number 5. So both of those are going to try and get through before we see the end of the race. There goes Aaron Bailey. He's not done just yet either. He's now up into what's going to be 5th position, but Joe Stables has kind of just bolted away as well. He's going to try and keep with Aaron Bailey as we now start the last lap of the race. So through has gone Brian Cordwell, 2nd John McLeod, and Jack Lang is now back with the top 2 as well here. He's closed that gap down to 1.6 seconds. As further back, there's still great fighting going on between these 3 cars. Jack Manchester at the head of it in the white machine. Then the 2 red cars of Brian Murphy and Paul Allen. Paul Allen gets a good run through Ritchie's. Can he make a move up towards the Wilson hairpin? He'll look for the inside line surely, but again he's not quite close enough there, so they stay at line astern. Aaron Bailey sits there in 5th place, and I think Steve Burgess may just be all right now. He's kind of just kept himself to himself. He's kept ahead of Jack Manchester, who is in turn having this great fight with Brian Murphy and Paul Allen, so I don't think he'll come under attack on this last lap. You just see a little bit in the distance there behind these 4 or 5 cars. Number 64, which is the car which has worked his way through, of Brian Harvey. Started near enough plumb last, but he's up now inside the top 12 places. So I'm sure he'll be delighted with that as well. But down through the right-hander at Williams goes Aaron Bailey. Joe Stables is there. Steve Burgess, he's got 1 more straight, in fact 2 more straights to try and hold on now, because he's got this long one, the Bentley straight, and he'll also be under attack, I'm sure, on the centre straight for the final time, where Brian Cordwell is nearly to the end of this lap, and he's going to take what seemingly is going to be the first win of the weekend in the Radical Challenge Championship. Steve Burgess still a little bit of defending to do as they work their way down towards the bomb hole. Jack Manchester may be the only man to get through here. As in towards the final corner at Murray's does come Brian Cordwell after that fantastic start from 4th on the grid, right round the outside at Ritchie's corner. He's going to hold it to the line and take the first win of the weekend here at Snetterton. Checker flag in hand for the marshals on the gantry, and Brian Cordwell gets the round of applause across the line, just ahead there of number 14, John McLeod, who in turn was closed right down in on by Jack Lang towards the end of that race. So they are your top 3 who take the spoils in race number 1. Tony Wells finishes not too far back in 4th place, and it will be, by the looks of it, number 11, Aaron Bailey, who comes through to round out your top 5 places at the end of what was an enthralling race for the Radical Challenge Championship. 2 further races still to come, of course, but it's Brian Cordwell who picks up the honours by what was just 3/4 of a second ahead of John McLeod. Jack Lang gets himself to the podium ahead of Tony Wells, and then Aaron Bailey, Joe Stables with Steve Burgess, championship leader, coming home in 7th. Jack Manchester was 8th, Brian Murphy 9th, and Paul Allen rounding out your top 10. So there is the round of applause for the winner of the race, Brian Cordwell. He's going to be a happy man. He'll leap himself or crawl himself on to the top step of the podium, and he spoke to Alan Hyde after the race. Let's find out his thoughts from that race.
First of all, many congratulations. The start was all important, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I worked the tyres really hard in the warm-up lap and took a little bit of a risk off the start to get the whole shot. But John climbed all over me for the whole race, so it wasn't comfortable at all. But really enjoyed it.
Never comfy. We've had changing conditions all day today. For the start of your race, for the first time, we saw the sunshine come out. Did that help the conditions out on track?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it was surprisingly grippy. I think, I took a few risks in the early lap or two and was pleasantly surprised at the grip. Although it might be worse than it was, but no, the grip was good.
Super way to start the weekend, eh?
Yeah, happy days.
Okay, many congratulations to Brian Caldwell. Let's have a chat to second place to John McLeod, and climbing all over the back of Brian, but not quite able to do anything about him.
Did my best, couldn't do anything about it. There was even a rabbit that ran out in front of him and Agostini, and even that didn't put him off, so nothing was going to work.
Goodness me, if a rabbit can't stop you, was there not even a falter?
What can you do?
Well, what can you do? Nothing at all, really.
No, I just tried to keep him honest, tried to keep everything clean and tidy, and hopefully wait for him to put a foot wrong, but he didn't.
He didn't, no, far too experienced for that, so very well done to both of you. And let's have a word with Jack Lang and find out. Jack, hop down and have a chat to us so we can get you on the camera as well. What happened?
To start with, we had new tyres on, so I couldn't quite get any heat in the back of them to start with, so I got a lot of wheel spin, so I lost first.
Right.
And from there I thought we were quite quick. We were all over Steve, and he was obviously all over John in front, and going into the first corner I went around the outside of him, and then down that straight his front hit the back of my car. I'm not too sure what happened, but
right. Okay. What's the? Have you looked at the back of your car now? Have you been able to assess the damage?
Yeah, there's the diffuser's broken at the back, just a bit of rear damage, but it should be okay for next round.
You can catch the second of our Radical sprint races here at Snetterton on Radical TV, right here on the Radical website.